For the record, be careful what you wish for, because you may not like what you want to see. I was a fan of Thomas and Friends when I was a little kid in elementary school. Don't ask why. Okay, I'm autistic, you guess that, and a train enthusiast. But, anyways, you know, the internet was still a new thing back then, and YouTube was made months after its release. As I looked around the internet, I decided that I would watch some Thomas videos for nostalgia. Just out of boredom, you know? I decided to watch a Thomas and Friends review since I was feeling this wave of nostalgia. And the video was honestly quite boring. The guy who made the video didn't really seem too energetic. So I scrolled down to the comment section and decided to read what other people had to say. The comments were mostly about how they liked his opinion and why they agree with him, and some were just love messages. One comment in particular caught my attention, as it was a comment where the guy claims that he has a link to a website where you can find actual episodes of Thomas and Friends for free. I asked the guy if I could have the link to it because my gullible ass would fall for something like this, and he commented back in just a few minutes with the link to the website. Given the fact that I was 15 at the time, I didn't pay any notice to the risk this website might give out, okay? And judging that it was made from a sketchy comment, it was a good thing that there were no viruses on the site. The site in particular was made in 2002, and it looks like it hadn't aged well today in 2009. I'm getting off topic, though. I looked around the website, saw a couple episodes that I remembered watching when I was little. Watching them was like going down memory lane, though. I didn't have a problem with it since it was low contrast and the brightness was very dimmed. Didn't matter since it didn't affect my view of the episodes anyway. I searched up the 6th season of the show, as that was my favorite season, and that it was the quote-unquote newest season available for the site, made in 2002. As I scrolled through the episodes, the list came to a halt with a description and a link. Now, the description was of the episode Thomas and the Jet Engine, and it said that it was the quote-unquote newest episode from Thomas and Friends, which isn't true nowadays. They really forgot to make some changes, or maybe the site was abandoned. Well, I opened the link, and it led to a video pop-out with the basic white play button in the middle. I got up and went to grab a snack in the pantry. The intro started playing in the background, which admittedly startled me at first. I never hit the play button as I left my room. And thank God my parents weren't home either, because it was extremely loud. I forgot to turn down the volume, I guess. Well, I paused the video, wondering how it did that, but then again, some videos play by themselves when you first load it up, so I must have forgotten to pause it before I left. Well, I expected nothing from it as it began to play the intro and cut straight to the episode. Again, the video had a low contrast and a dim brightness level. Gordon was shown to pull the express as the narrator explained how Gordon was the fastest engine on Sodor. The next scene showed him coming to a stop at Knapford. The other engines were there, and they were engaged in a conversation on how Gordon was the fastest engine. Sir Topham Hatt showed up and explained that there was a jet engine being delivered at Brendam Docks. Of course, since this show was about Thomas, he would be the one to pull the jet engine. And at first, Thomas declined the offer, but then he changed his mind when he thought about being faster than Gordon. It's a basic Thomas episode, so not really surprising. Thomas was shown chuffing down the line, passing 2 stations before entering a branch line, which I assume is the line to Brendam Docks. When Thomas arrived, the jet engine was already being unloaded by Cranky. The jet engine looked a bit weird, though. I don't remember what it looked like since I watched it when I was little, but something about it was really questionable. See, it looked a little longer from what I remembered, but Again, that could be me. Thomas coupled up, but was then starting to get impatient because Cranky was taking his time. Then it got to the scene where he knocked the switch by accident and it started up. Thomas flew down the rails at light speed and wasn't able to stop. At first, Thomas was scared, but then he realized that this was what he wanted. Thomas flew past multiple stations and was shown flying past James, Henry, Percy, Duck, and even Bertie the bus. Gordon was shown pulling the express as he boasted to himself how he was the fastest engine on Sodor, and Thomas just flies past Gordon, right? They both enter a tunnel and came out the other end. Tidmouth Station was shown as Edward was shunting a fuel tanker train to the mainland, and I started getting creeped out because I knew something was now completely off about it. I saw Thomas rounding a bend as he noticed that he was switched onto the siding where the tankers were. The narrator's voice was now starting to glitch out to previous lines that he already said in the episode. Thomas screamed like an actual person in danger as he flew straight at the tankers, which exploded on impact. Thomas's model went flying into the station, barely hitting Edward, but hitting the wooden people on the station platform. The narrator spoke one last time, saying, "Luckily, no one was hurt." But the aftermath scene said otherwise. It was very graphic for a kids' show, and Thomas's model was shown to be heavily damaged and was bleeding. Like those gory claymation videos you see nowadays. And this may sound cliche, but the bleeding on what was left of Thomas's face was just incredibly realistic. Looked like it was way ahead of any claymation video I've seen. The whole station was on fire, and Edward looked more shocked than me. The next scene showed a flashback of clips from the older seasons, as a sad but unsettling music box of the theme song played. The final scene showed a scraped model of Thomas sitting in the smelter's yard. Darkness consumed the screen as it showed white text saying, "Due to the lack of respect people had with Thomas and the Magic Railroad, we've had enough with making Thomas episodes that were once based on a children's book series made by the now deceased Wilbert Rev Audrey. You people really don't seem to care to anyone or the dedication towards our fans but yourselves. And we want to make more seasons for the franchise and make Thomas a pop culture series for children, but thanks to you critics, that won't be happening. I, Britt Allcroft, will now be getting rid of all the models and sets that were made and burn the studio to the ground, since that's what you guys really want." The text faded out as one last text faded in from the blackness, along with the Thomas and Friends logo that said, "I hope you're happy now." This was a bit shocking, but I knew it didn't happen since they're making more seasons, and they've switched to full-on CGI as of this year. My only assumption was that Britt Allcroft's lost her marbles because of the really hateful comments people have been making about the movie and the show itself, and that she planned on killing off Thomas altogether with this episode, but that she calmed down and changed her mind after her meltdown. Okay, I don't know who, but that's all I could think about as for a reason of why she made this alternate episode. While I was still on the video pop-out site, I opened a new tab and saw a video from a year ago, which had a full episode of Thomas and the jet engine. I started to notice so many differences from the final version and the alternate ending that, well, I've compiled a list for you. The first thing. Thomas never refused to take the jet engine to the airport, as he was eager to do it in the first place. Number 2, the scene where Thomas was going to Brendam Docks, The stations Thomas passed by were not in the final version of the episode. Matter of fact, neither was the junction to the branch line. Number 3. I knew the jet engine looked way longer than the one in the final version. It was a much more detailed and shorter version. Number 4. Duck was never in the final version. Wasn't even mentioned once by the narrator, which made me think he was supposed to be in this quote-unquote last episode of Thomas and Friends. Number 5. The ending. The godforsaken ending. I mean, it was not like the one in the alternate ending. The ending played out like this. See, after Thomas and Gordon chuffed out of the tunnel they went in, it didn't make it to Tidmouth Station, because it was not in the final episode and probably never was shown in Season 6. Instead, the jet engine started to cool down, and Thomas gained control of the jet engine and arrived at Knapford. He apologized for overtaking him, and the engines had a good laugh. I was about to go tell the man about this disturbing ending of Thomas and the jet engine, but when I went to the exact same video I watched, that comment was deleted. I couldn't upload the video to YouTube myself, as I don't want to face a lawsuit against the new owners of Thomas and Friends, but I'm honestly dumbfounded by this, as I now know the real ending. And I always kept thinking to myself, every time I watched the episode, that is not Thomas the Tank Engine. He is still at the smelter's yard. Burned, damaged, and covered in rust.